One of the roles of the Police Scotland Cybercrime Harm Prevention Team is to provide up-to-date cybercrime harm prevention advice across all sectors in Scotland. We have strong partnerships with a large network of trusted sources in the UK who we interact with and who share up-to-date information on cybercrime prevention advice and support. This is a short presentation put together by the team to provide some guidance and support for parents and carers on how to keep their children and young people safe online. There can be no doubt that with the introduction of the internet, life has changed, and we along with our children have had to adapt as we in effect live our lives in two worlds. There is the real world and the virtual or online world. Our children and young people are trustful of us, no matter what their age. Importantly, they watch and learn from us as we do all that we can to protect them and allow them space to develop and grow with the resilience and confidence necessary for the real world. But we also have to do this in relation to how they live their lives in the virtual world and that online life and experience that lies ahead for them. As parents, we are generally referred to as digital tourists. By that I mean we are seen to just go online to check emails or dip into a favourite social media app to see how many likes we have. We might even FaceTime or just have a wander through posts to see who's doing whatever new thing. We might even do a bit of online shopping or paying some bills. Our children and young people, on the other hand, are who we refer to as digital natives. From their earliest years, they have been introduced to the online world, and they cannot imagine a life without instant messaging, instant communication, live streaming, or instant viewing of almost anything. And we, as parents and carers, have to be aware of how they are living their lives in this virtual world, not intrusively, which will make them defensive, but being interested and involved and learning about this aspect of their lives. So we have to start that conversation with our children and young people. We have to encourage and maintain an open and ongoing dialogue with them. We have to talk to them about how they use their mobile devices to connect online and also their experiences online. Mobile devices are extremely powerful. In fact, the smart device you have is most likely more powerful than the navigation system used to land the Apollo spacecraft on the moon. We use these devices without a second thought of their potential or just how powerful they are, and our children and young people are using these same devices all day and every day to access the internet and all that the virtual or online world has to offer. As we connect to the internet, we all have to consider that behind the screen of every device that we use to communicate online is usually a human being. And we all have to ask ourselves, are we sure who we are communicating with online is who they say they are? As we know, there are those who use the online world to do bad things, and quite often our children and young people can be their targets. When you were younger and came home from being with your friends, you're probably asked by a parent or carer, where were you, who were you with, and what were you doing? As parents and carers, do you ask these same questions of your children and young people when they inevitably leave their bedrooms from either being online gaming or chatting? As parents and carers, we have to have awareness of the dangers online, from private chat rooms and online gaming platforms, indeed right across the internet. Remember, unless you know who you are communicating with online, people can pretend to be anybody they want to be. You cannot see them and you don't know them. So don't just trust anyone you meet online. Make sure you know who they are, and if you don't, just stop communicating with them. And this advice is not only for our children and young people, but also for you as parents and carers, as anyone connected to the internet and this online world is just as likely to be a victim of some form of cybercrime. So as we say to adults who connect online, we have to say to your children and young people, think before you click on any link, even if the link is sent from a friend, but especially if it is sent from somebody you don't know. As we move through the presentation, we will carry the important fact that we have had the conversation, that we have opened the dialogue in terms of how our children and young people use their devices to access the internet and share with us their experiences online. Having had that conversation, they will now have a better understanding that as much as we want them to be safe in the real world, we also want them to be just as safe and aware in the virtual world. This might be a good time for you to consider introducing some guidelines on screen time and the use of devices, and to include them in that. Guidelines could be setting a time limit on screen time and gaming, and explaining to them the reason that it is good to have a break from being online. You could consider, if you haven't already done so, activating parental controls on their devices to restrict different types of content they can view. You can also do this with your ISP. Have you considered no mobile devices at mealtimes, and using mealtimes as a family or group time to chat about your day? And what about no access to mobile devices during the night, when these devices can potentially disrupt their sleep, making them feel tired and affecting their concentration for school the next day or whatever activity they're going to be taking part in? As parents and carers, how much of what our children and young people are seeing us doing online influences how they behave and interact online. This should be a consideration for us. We have to remember that what we post and share online stays online. That if we post something for a particular reason, then regret having posted it, we cannot delete it. Once you press send, that post is now out with your control and can be shared many times over. And we have to raise this with our children and young people, that once you post something online, it stays online. So when they do go online, gaming or chatting, we have to encourage them to do so in a safe virtual space. This will put your mind at ease and make them aware that you know what you are talking about. So, having had the conversation, they know they can be open and share with you if they are frightened or concerned with any experience they have online. As parents and carers, we have to continue to look out for risks. During these current times where there is a massive focus on living more online in the virtual world, we cannot allow ourselves to become complacent. We must remain vigilant, as cyber criminals are upping their game and their methods to attack and disrupt our lives online, and this will not stop. So as we mentioned earlier, we have had that uncomfortable conversation to warn our children and young people about harmful content, and this can feature in apps, games, and some online communities. We also have to make them aware of the dangers of resharing harmful posts or other content, and how this could affect them, not necessarily here and now, but in the future. Remember what we mentioned earlier, what you post online stays online. So encourage your children to think about the videos, photographs and messages they share, especially on social media. So, as we near the end of this quick presentation, can I draw your attention to these really helpful online resources? Think You Know is a great site for parents, carers, children and young people, where you can visit either together or individually to raise your awareness and take guidance from this resource. In addition to helping you during COVID-19 and homeschooling, you can download home activity packs with simple 15-minute activities for your child to support their online safety awareness at a time when they will be spending more time online. There are also links to Internet Matters, Project Evolve, Safer Internet, Childline, NSPCC and Parentline Scotland. And just to round off the presentation, these are additional links to sites which have great resources for you to improve your own awareness and your own cybersecurity. Thank you for your time. I wish I had a bit more time to speak to you, but I hope this quick presentation is of benefit. Thank you.